The work that they're doing is primarily focused on the information systems that flow through the Treasury. That's information on all the payments that the U.S. government makes, all the identifications of programs and individuals, and all of the stores of information that are contained inside that agency. The fact that this team of relative unknowns were able to so quickly get access to that information alarmed members of both parties in Congress, even Republicans. We reported this morning that 5 or 6 Republican senators have privately lodged objections to the White House when that became clear. Because it's really unprecedented to have relative newcomers crawling through the very most secret forms of information contained within the Treasury Department.
What did the GOP senators take issue with, according to your reporting?
The best that we have been able to understand is that there was a feeling that this was a little bit too Big Brother-ish. That's how one person put it, that this is going deep into personally identifiable information. There was, in some of the early reporting, this sense that the government, that these staffers were really getting a very up-close and personal view of what individual information was within the Treasury Department, and they were lodging objection to that, saying that it was, the sort of thing that bothered them as being overly invasive and really uncontrolled. We don't really have any sort of precedent for this kind of behavior.
Who is on the DOGE team? And we're going to hear a little bit later on this hour, in about 20 minutes time or so, the Treasury Secretary addressing some of those officials. But what do we know about who is the DOGE team? Well, and their qualifications.
In terms of the people at Treasury, one thing that we reported this morning, which the Secretary confirmed later on in his Bloomberg interview, is Tom Kraus, who's one of those DOGE officials and is now at Treasury, is someone that Scott Bessent interviewed in December when he was putting together his team, and that in that conversation they discussed this very level of perusal of the forms and systems within the Treasury Department that is now underway. And what that shows is that while you have Republicans on the Hill being a little unnerved, not having expected this to happen, Scott Bessent himself is much more on board with this than a lot of people may have previously assumed.
I'm curious we've learned quite a bit from Scott Bessent, thanks to Saleha Mosen's interview with him a little earlier today. He did say that he personally vetted Treasury employees and that they only have read-only access to federal payment data, and there's been no tinkering with the department's payment systems. Does your reporting align with that?
Yeah, that's been the biggest question. And certainly on the Democratic side of the aisle, there was great alarm at this notion that they were getting in there in these systems and potentially altering code, doing things that went beyond simply looking at this information, which is unusual enough, but actually changing what was in there. So this is the first time we've had the Treasury Secretary saying, no, that was not occurring. They had previously sent a letter to the Hill in response to some lawmakers, including Senator Ron Wyden. But even the letter itself seemed to say that they didn't currently have anything that went beyond read-only access. What Bessent said today was that no, they had not changed anything or tinkered with those systems about how money flows.
Hey, Ted, my understanding, too, is a federal judge temporarily limited access to the Treasury payment system. A group of unions accused the agency of illegally sharing members' information with Musk's team. And this is that order that allows only read-only access to those 2 Musk associates, including Kraus. What's interesting is it does sound like the legal system is kicking in. So who, in general, are bringing suits and might bring more suits to kind of maybe prevent Elon Musk and his team, the DOGE team, from doing more at Treasury?
Well, in particular, I think you're going to see legal efforts that originate with organized labor, because to the extent that DOGE has sort of signaled its ultimate intentions, one of them clearly is to reduce the number of federal employees. And so the unions who defend those workers' rights are starting to agitate, essentially to slow this effort down until they can understand what's going on. And that is the most likely initial wave, I think, of legal action.